Welcome to this deep dive, where we take a massive stack of information, from formalized 13-step guides and academic critiques to, well, highly personalized memory shortcuts and peer advice, and we extract the most valuable, actionable insights just for you.
Right.
Our goal is to really provide a comprehensive shortcut to becoming truly well-informed on a topic.
And our mission today is, I think, highly practical. It's intensely focused on skill acquisition. We are analyzing comprehensive strategies for learning a language, specifically English, and doing it quickly and effectively.
And we're looking far beyond simple flashcards here, right?
Oh, absolutely. We're covering everything from, proven structured classroom methodologies to these highly unique self-study techniques.
Yeah.
And we're going right down to the nitty-gritty, tackling those notorious common grammar pitfalls and mastering those slippery pronunciation hurdles.
Our sources are a fascinating blend of the rigorous and the anecdotal. We have these detailed guides designed for rapid skill acquisition, critical academic reviews of traditional language pedagogy, specifically focusing on something called communicative language teaching.
Which we will definitely unpack.
And then there's the practical, real-world advice extracted from vibrant online communities of language learners.
Right, the stuff that people are actually doing.
Exactly. And even systematic memory techniques that cleverly combine imaginative visualization and sound association.
Exactly. We'll explore that necessary and, honestly, sometimes conflicting balance between rigorous, guided instruction and the total freedom of going it alone.
That's a huge question for learners.
It is. And critically, we'll look closely at the methods that promise rapid speed but might lack depth in certain crucial areas, particularly formal grammar and precision.
So whether you're aiming for that C-level fluency or maybe you're building your own resources for others, get ready to gain a full, detailed toolkit for boosting language skills.
We want to make every minute of your study time strategically count. Okay, let's unpack this.
All right, let's dive right in.
So where do we start?
The central premise guiding rapid language acquisition, according to all the source material, is it seems non-negotiable. Immersion.
Immersion. Right.
It's about surrounding yourself with English, but we really need to define what that means in practice.
Yeah, it's a buzzword.
It is. We are not talking about passively streaming media while you wash the dishes.
No.
We are talking about real active immersion. So, what are the key active steps laid out in the source material for achieving this? How can learners proactively build this inescapable English-speaking environment?
The core philosophy is straightforward, but it's also demanding. It's about creating a fun environment for learning and practicing English every day.
Every day.
Every single day. If your ambition is rapid acquisition, you have to stop treating English as a subject you study twice a week.
Like a dentist appointment.
Exactly. You have to start treating it as the air you breathe. And the sources provide a clear, multi-pronged action plan for this surround yourself strategy.
That sounds necessary for speed, but let's be realistic. For a learner who doesn't live in an English-speaking country, achieving daily contact with native speakers, that sounds incredibly difficult.
It does.
What does that daily immersion actually look like, and how do we overcome that geographic barrier?
That's where the proactive approach comes in. It means making communication an inescapable activity, and you have to leverage technology to bridge those gaps.
Okay.
The source material insists, first and foremost, you should try to talk to native English speakers daily.
Even for a few minutes.
Even if it's a quick 15-minute exchange on a video call platform. But if direct native contact for conversation isn't practical every single day, then the advice shifts.
To what?
It shifts to peer-to-peer connection. Find a language exchange group online or, locally if you can, to practice speaking with other committed learners.
So it's about accepting that native fluency might start with peer fluency. You're both in the same boat.
Precisely. And you can correct each other. Beyond direct conversation, though, immersion requires cultural engagement.
Right, it's more than just the words.
Absolutely. This strategy recommends participating in cultural events and social gatherings where English is the primary language spoken.
So what does that look like in practice?
This might mean joining an international club, a book club focused on English literature, or even an online gaming community where the language of communication is English.
That's a great one.
It is. And yes, of course, engaging with English-speaking media is essential, but that's the passive baseline.
Okay.
The active steps, the speaking, the engaging, are what truly drive rapid progress.
So the environment is built, but practice still comes down to repetition and confidence, right? Especially for those working alone. What are the specific self-practice techniques recommended for solo work that, build that muscle memory?
The sources heavily, and I mean heavily, emphasize the power of self-practice and repetition.
Okay.
The most immediate and accessible technique is practicing speaking in front of a mirror.
I've always been skeptical of that one. Does it really work?
It sounds a bit strange, but it allows the learner to link the sound they're making with a visual articulation. You see how your mouth moves, you can correct your facial posture, and honestly, it just builds confidence.
I see.
Alternately, and I think perhaps more productively, you record yourself speaking.
Now that makes sense.
Right. This provides objective feedback. It allows you to monitor your pronunciation and actually track how far you've progressed over weeks and months.
So the recording element transforms that subjective feeling of, I think I'm getting better, into objective data.
Absolutely. And the key technique in this self-practice routine is systematic imitation.
Okay, what's that?
You must listen to fluent speakers, ideally short segments, and immediately repeat what they say.
So not just reciting.
No, not at all. It's about matching their speed, their delivery, their intent. You're trying to capture the whole package.
And the emphasis is clearly on consistency, right? 15 minutes every day beats 3 hours once a week.
Without a doubt, yeah. The guidance is explicit. Make an effort to speak English every single day, even if it's just for those 15 focus minutes.
But there's a mental side, too.
Oh, massively. More important than the mechanical repetition is the mental framework. You have to adopt the mindset. Don't be afraid to make mistakes.
That's the biggest hurdle for so many people.
It is. Learning is challenging, it's frustrating, and it's messy. But the willingness to sound silly, to err in pursuit of communication, is the only true pathway to fluency.
Okay, so to keep that daily discipline going, the practice has to be stimulating. How do we prevent this mandatory daily practice from becoming a dry academic chore? What are some of the innovative methods suggested?
The guidance suggests injecting creativity and, interestingly, high-pressure social interaction.
High pressure.
Yeah. So, innovative ways to practice speaking include engaging with creative arts, like storytelling workshops or poetry readings. These force you to use descriptive language and structure narratives.
Makes sense.
But the most surprising and highest level suggestion is attending stand-up comedy workshops.
Stand-up comedy. That feels like level 500 English fluency. That sounds terrifying.
It sounds extreme, I know. But think about the skills required. Stand-up demands incredible quick thinking,
Yeah.
deep cultural context to land a joke, precise timing, and rapid sentence construction. It forces the learner to process and react under high social pressure.
I see the logic.
It makes it a highly engaging and extremely effective way to practice fluency, rhythm, and intonation all at the same time.
So even if a beginner isn't going to get on stage.
No, of course not.
Yeah.
But just attending these workshops, or even just trying to deconstruct and translate jokes, forces you to engage with complex natural language usage.
That is genuinely innovative advice for pushing fluency beyond just basic conversation. Okay, let's focus on pronunciation.
A huge one.
A major one. We mentioned recording yourself, which is crucial for tackling this, often the major hurdle. What specific techniques are offered to sharpen sounds, rhythm, and, what's the word? Prosody.
Prosody, yes. The sources detail specific acoustic techniques, focusing deeply on imitation and the physical mechanics of sound production. The top-tier technique, which we must unpack in detail, is shadowing.
Okay, let's unpack shadowing. It sounds like a sophisticated form of parroting, but how do we execute it technically? What's the actual process?
It is imitation, but it's done systematically. Shadowing involves listening to a native speaker, ideally through headphones, so you can really isolate the sound,
Okay.
and trying to imitate them almost simultaneously. You're not waiting for them to finish the sentence. You're speaking right along with them.
Wow, so you're just a fraction of a second behind them.
Exactly. And you are matching their tone, their rhythm, their intonation, their volume. The mechanics are key here. Many experts suggest starting the exercise by simply repeating the mumbling sound of the sentence.
Mumbling. Why would you start with mumbling?
Because you are first trying to capture the music of the language, the prosody. English is a stress-timed language. The rhythm is absolutely critical. Once you have the rhythm down, you can then layer the clear consonants and vowels on top of that musical structure.
I see. So this prevents the learner from relying on the rhythm patterns of their native language.
Yes, which often sounds choppy or robotic when applied to English. You get the flow first.
So it's not just about hitting the right consonant. It's about capturing the whole sonic package. The flow, the stress, the rise and fall.
Precisely. Beyond shadowing, you then engage in what's called targeted practice.
Okay.
This is where you identify specific difficult sounds in English, like the often tricky sound or the difference between ship and sheep, and you practice those phones repeatedly.
Drilling down.
Exactly. And then there's that dedicated focus on prosody, which dictates how syllables are stressed and the rising and falling tones used for questions or statements. Getting prosody right is what distinguishes a technically correct speaker from a truly natural-sounding one.
And what are the enjoyable ways to implement this so it doesn't just feel like a speech therapy session?
Well, as we mentioned, singing along to English songs is cited as a fun and incredibly effective way to internalize rhythm and improve pronunciation.
Because the music forces the timing.
The music naturally dictates the timing and the stress. Additionally, leveraging technology is vital. Use apps and websites that provide high-quality audio recordings, exercises, and quizzes.
And what about feedback?
That's the final, non-negotiable step, the feedback loop.
Mm-hmm.
You have to seek out speaking partners, ideally native speakers, who can offer real-time feedback. This creates a critical feedback mechanism for immediate correction before mistakes become solidified or fossilized.
Right. Before they become permanent habits.
Exactly.
Okay, for many people starting out, the first structural question is really about budget and commitment. It's, do I need to invest time and money in a formal teacher and guided courses, or can I effectively teach myself using the, abundance of free online resources?
Right, the big fork in the road.
It is, and our source material provides a clear four-dimensional comparison of self-study versus guided courses to help a learner make this strategic decision.
And this decision really depends entirely on the learner's financial situation, their complex lifestyle, and critically, their personal learning temperament.
What do you mean by temperament?
Specifically, their ability to maintain intrinsic motivation autonomously. Can you be your own boss?
Good question.
We can break down the comparison into 4 key dimensions, where these two modalities contrast really sharply.
Okay, let's start with the practicalities. Flexibility versus structure.
Self-study offers maximum total flexibility. You can learn at any time, late at night, early in the morning, on your own schedule, without external deadlines or fixed class times.
Which for a busy professional is huge.
It's an enormous advantage.
Yeah.
Guided courses, conversely, impose a rigid structure. You have fixed class times, non-negotiable deadlines for assignments, and a predefined linear plan for daily or weekly learning. If you thrive on routine and external pressure, structure is your advantage.
Okay, next is the social element. Support and community. I mean, does self-study have to be such a lonely road, or are there creative ways to build community?
It definitely can be lonely.
Yeah.
In self-study, you are essentially on your own to find answers to specific, nuanced questions.
Right.
And you inherently miss out on that crucial speaking practice with peers in a structured, moderated setting.
Whereas a class.
The guided course environment provides essential support from both teachers, who offer personalized, expert feedback and tailored tips and classmates. And that classmate part is invaluable for networking, making friends, and just sharing those difficult learning experiences.
Yeah, the shared struggle.
That shared journey often mitigates frustration and reinforces motivation.
That connection to others leads naturally to motivation, which is really the engine of learning. How does motivation hold up in each of these modalities?
Staying motivated is notoriously tough with self-study. It's just too easy to lose interest or delay study time when you are your own and only boss. You have to cultivate immense self-discipline.
And the class keeps you honest.
Guided courses maintain motivation through external pressure. The presence of other students learning alongside you, the sort of social embarrassment of not completing homework,
Sure.
and, crucially, those external deadlines that force accountability and commitment.
Finally, let's talk about the bottom line and, quantifiable results. Cost and progress measurement.
Self-study is generally cheaper, or in many cases entirely free, depending on the high-quality resources you use.
Right.
Guided courses always cost money because you're paying for the teacher's time, their expertise, and personalized materials.
But you get what you pay for, sometimes.
Sometimes. While self-study makes measuring progress kind of abstract and subjective, guided courses can help the learner advance quicker. Progress is much easier to measure through standardized tests, official grade records, and formal instructor feedback.
So the choice really comes down to whether you're someone who prizes freedom and can self-regulate motivation, or if you prefer professional guidance and accountability.
That's the fundamental trade-off.
That formal breakdown is helpful, but I'm fascinated by how real learners navigate the self-study challenge when they don't have a practice partner or a native speaker available.
Right, the workarounds.
Exactly. Especially for introverts or those on a strict budget, this is where the digital community really shines, turning necessity into genuine linguistic invention.
The community discussion, particularly from online forums, highlights some incredibly creative solutions for practicing speaking solo.
Like what?
The simplest and most widely accepted technique among introverts is literally just talking to oneself, narrating your day, preparing a speech, or explaining a complex topic out loud in English.
But some methods are far more imaginative, right? The anecdote about practicing with pets really stuck with me.
It did. It's brilliant. One learner humorously describes practicing by talking to their cats and interpreting the responding meows in the target language.
Okay, give me the quote.
The internal monologue is, "Mother, I have not eaten in days. I have never seen food before. I am so hungry."
That's fantastic.
This technique, though it's funny, transforms everyday interactions, like feeding a pet into low-stakes practice opportunities. It engages the language centers of your brain without the social anxiety.
So it's essentially training the brain to frame the world in the target language.
You're making it the default.
That's brilliant. It
Yeah.
turns a cat's inherent existential hunger into a fun L2 dialogue lesson.
Beyond pets and reflection, learners rely heavily on digital resources for technical feedback. They utilize niche subreddits and Discord servers where they can post short audio files,
And just hope someone corrects them.
and they rely on the generosity and linguistic knowledge of strangers or designated moderators to correct pronunciation and usage. It's a sort of crowdsourced tutoring.
This reliance on free, asynchronous digital education brings us directly to a key area I want to explore. Many self-learners rely on YouTube channels as their primary teacher.
Oh, for sure.
The Learn English with Let's Talk YouTube channel is specifically cited as a massive free resource. I think we need to analyze this resource deeply.
Absolutely. The Learn English with Let's Talk channel is a phenomenon. It offers a massive library of more than 2,000 free English lessons.
2,000.
It's incredible. And what makes it so valuable for the self-learner is its structural approach to self-guided learning.
What are the key structural features that make it such a successful resource? What's the secret sauce?
First, the sheer volume provides a comprehensive curriculum substitute. It's like a whole textbook library for free.
Okay.
Second, the diversity of instruction is key. It features a variety of teachers, which allows the student to essentially choose their teacher and school.
Ah, so if you don't like one person's style.
Exactly. If you don't connect with one instructor's style or accent, you simply switch to another's playlist. This variety combats that single-source accent risk we'll discuss later.
And the content organization. How do you navigate 2,000 videos?
That's the third point.
Yeah.
Specialized playlists. They don't just teach general grammar. They offer highly targeted instruction.
Good.
For example, they have specialized playlists for professional use, like training on job interview skills, or for accent training, distinguishing between specific American and British English phonetics and vocabulary differences.
I see.
For someone opting for the self-study route, leveraging a resource of that scale effectively substitutes for much the material, structure, and targeted instruction you'd find in a paid guided course. It offers maximum efficiency for zero cost.
So that targeted specialization is the real takeaway. Instead of just general instruction, creating specific paths like English for software engineers or advanced prosody practice is the key to attracting and retaining self-learners.
That's the strategic insight. The success of channels like Let's Talk proves that learners are often looking for solutions to highly specific problems, not just generic lessons.
So a successful digital resource must function like a choose-your-own-adventure curriculum.
Yes, offering immediate answers to niche questions.
Okay. Let's move from these practical self-study tips to the fundamental theory guiding formal instruction. I want to look at a foundational philosophy that has really dominated modern language education, communicative language teaching, or CLT.
The big one.
Yeah. We need to understand its goals, its mechanics, and then critically, the academic counter-arguments that suggest CLT creates these structural deficiencies. What exactly is it, and why is it so influential globally?
So CLT is a methodology aimed primarily at helping students acquire communication skills in the target language.
Communication first.
Communication first.
Yeah.
It emerged in the 1970s as a direct reaction against older, often rigid, grammar-focused, or translation-heavy methods.
Ones people hated in school.
The very ones. Its core focus is on functional fluency, what one can do with the language in real-world scenarios, rather than, rote memorization of complex grammatical paradigms.
The classroom activities are different.
Very different. They prioritize interaction involving low-pressure, realistic situations like speaking in pairs or engaging in group tasks designed to force interaction.
So, if the goal is just to travel, order food, or survive a business trip, isn't functional fluency, even with errors, perfectly sufficient? Are the critics of CLT just academic purists defending unnecessary rigor?
That is the core of the debate, and it's a completely valid challenge. If your goal is purely survival communication, CLT is highly effective, especially initially.
But
But we have to examine the methodology structure through a classic activity to see how it works and where the flaws start to creep in.
okay, walk us through a classic CLT activity, maybe an example of task-based learning.
Certainly, task-based learning is a hallmark of CLT. A typical example involves students being assigned to a small group, ideally no more than 6 people.
Okay.
The instructor gives the entire group a single, clearly defined task to complete, like planning a party or solving a mystery. But here is the critical design feature.
What's that?
Each group member, say member A, member B, and so on, only has a small, unique piece of the necessary information.
Ah, an information gap. So they are structurally forced to talk to each other to succeed and complete the task.
Exactly. They cannot complete the task by themselves. Each person works on their designated part, and then they must combine their findings through communication and negotiation to reach the final goal.
And what's the psychological effect of that?
This structure is specifically designed to reduce the feeling of being overwhelmed by the new language. By limiting their initial focus, their comprehension of that specific piece of information increases,
And better comprehension.
leads directly to more confident and necessary communication, thus improving their overall communicative abilities in the target language.
That structure actively promotes confidence and interaction. What role must the instructor play in managing these less structured, high-interaction activities, especially to ensure the structure isn't entirely lost?
The instructor's role shifts dramatically. They go from a lecturer to a guide or a facilitator.
Okay.
They must still add structure to ensure learning isn't just surface level. For instance, if the activity is a simulated conversation, the instructor might secretly incorporate specific vocabulary or grammatical tense requirements.
Like a hidden objective.
Exactly. Like, you must use at least 5 conditional clauses to complete this task, to push the students beyond their comfort zone. And crucially, they must be vigilant in differentiating between genuinely creative, novel conversation and instances where students are just using repeated, uncreative utterances.
Linguistic placeholders.
Yes, placeholders to get by. Without that intervention, students might not be truly expanding their skills.
Okay, now let's address the criticism. CLT sounds perfect on paper, prioritizing speaking and real-world application, but the sources include some significant academic critique. What are the dangers of prioritizing function, the use over structure, the grammar?
This is where the debate becomes really high stakes, especially for advanced learners. The major criticism is that the theoretical ideals of CLT and its practical implementation can differ greatly, resulting in a systemic flaw.
And that flaw is what?
Critics highlight that CLT often prioritizes the functional achievement, just getting the meaning across over the rigorous maintenance of the grammatical systems that underpin the language.
And what's the long-term consequence of that for the student?
That priority can leave learners with serious and persistent gaps in their knowledge of the formal aspects of the target language.
How so?
If the classroom environment constantly rewards merely conveying meaning, regardless of grammatical precision, the student quickly learns to prioritize speed over accuracy.
And that can lead to fossilization.
It can lead to the fossilization of errors, mistakes that become so ingrained they are almost impossible to correct later. The student might succeed in basic interactions, but will fail when attempting complex professional communication, negotiation, or academic writing, where precision is paramount.
This connects directly to the criticism of the term communicative competence. If you can't define what competence means, how do you measure success?
That's the second key academic flaw. There is a persistent lack of a standard universal definition for communicative competence. That's a fuzzy term.
So it means different things to different teachers.
Exactly. Without a general consensus on what competent truly means, beyond just being understood, a student might be deemed successful by a CLT teacher without being able to make full or adequate use of the complex resources of the language. This fundamentally limits their true potential.
Especially when they need to transition from basic classroom scenarios to complex professional or academic contexts.
That's the real test.
So if a teacher isn't strict on grammar or if grading is subjective, the system itself can fail the student down the line by not preparing them for, say, a C1 or C2 environment.
Absolutely. The lack of standardization in instruction is a major concern. CLT has non-specific requirements for teacher training, meaning classroom practices, activities, and grading, especially concerning fluency and grammar assessments, can become highly subjective,
So a student could get an A in one class.
and then get a C in the next, with a stricter instructor. This variability undermines educational accountability and makes objective progress tracking extremely difficult.
This is a crucial insight for content creators. If you are teaching language on a public platform, you have to be hyper aware of this gap.
You do.
While functional fluency is engaging for beginners, the critique suggests that a successful long-term resource must clearly integrate and teach the necessary structural grammar that CLT often overlooks.
Precisely. If you are building a teaching resource, you need to provide the fun, communicative exercises while also supplying the structural scaffolding, the necessary grammar rules that ensures the function is supported by robust form.
Okay, let's connect that theoretical criticism. The risk of formal gaps due to CLT's focus too hard practical application. To combat the fossilization of errors, learners must dedicate effort to precision.
They have to.
Our sources highlight several traps that are frequently made by learners of English. Focusing on these specific mistakes is critical for any learner aiming for precision. What are the top 5 structural and usage grammar mistakes we need to deeply analyze?
These errors are classic examples of structural interference, often stemming from direct translation from the learner's native language, what we call L1 transfer, or just a simple failure to map English's specific rules.
And correcting them is key.
It is mandatory to move beyond basic communication toward native-like fluency and accuracy.
All right, number 1, the confusion over measuring things. Countables versus uncountables.
That is the pervasive quantity confusion involving much and many. Learners constantly misuse much, which is for uncountable nouns like water, information, or stress.
Right.
And many, which is for countable nouns, items you can put a number in front of, like books, emails, or students.
Give us the faulty construction and the fix.
The incorrect sentence you hear all the time is, I have much books.
Right.
Since books are countable, the rule is violated. The correct version is, of course, I have many books. This is a common failure of L1 transfer, where other languages might just use one word for both concepts.
Is there a trick to remember this?
The source provides a fantastic mnemonic phrase. Too many emails. Too much stress. Learners should drill that structure constantly. Emails are countable. Stress is not.
I like that one. Okay, what about adverbs? Specifically the use of very much. It's grammatically sound, so why is it flagged as a mistake?
This falls under natural adverb use. While saying I like this movie very much is technically, grammatically impeccable.
It sounds a bit clunky.
It sounds overly formal, mechanical, or artificial to a native ear, particularly in informal spoken English. The tip for native-like fluency is to use common, smoother alternatives that convey the same intensity.
Such as?
Instead of very much, use phrases like, I really like this movie or I like this movie a lot. This is about achieving stylistic competence, not just grammatical correctness.
Tense mixing seems like a major structural problem that CLT might overlook early on. Let's tackle simple past versus present perfect.
This is the critical distinction between a finished action and an unfinished relevance. The mistake is using the present perfect tense with definite past time markers.
Explain that.
Remember, the present perfect connects a past action to the present. For example, I have eaten implies I am full now. If the action is finished at a definite time in the past, you must use the simple past.
So the incorrect phrase would be,
I have seen him yesterday.
and why is that wrong? It's because yesterday clearly dictates a finished point in time.
Exactly. The rule is absolute. If you use a time expression that places the action at a specific finished point in the past, like yesterday, last week, in 1995, or 3 hours ago, you must use the simple past.
So the correct version is,
I saw him yesterday.
oh,
Learners have to drill time markers and tense pairings religiously to stop this error from fossilizing.
next up, the eternal battle between describing a noun and describing an action.
That's the classic adjective versus adverb misuse. Adjectives describe nouns, things, or people, while adverbs describe verbs or actions, how something is done.
And the common mistake.
Using the adjective form where the adverb is required, the incorrect sentence is, she sings beautiful. The question is, how does she sing? The word describes the action. The rule is clear. The word describing the action, things, must be an adverb, which almost always ends in antecedentally. Hence, she sings beautifully.
And finally, the structural redundancy of connectors. Why can't we use because and so in the same sentence?
This is the overuse of connectors. The error is using two conjunctions simultaneously that perform the same function. One states the cause, the other states the effect, but you only need one or the other.
So the incorrect example is,
I stayed home because I was tired, so I didn't go out.
right, you hear that a lot.
Because already establishes the causality, the so is completely redundant and structurally awkward. The clean, correct version is simply, I stayed home because I was tired. That simple edit instantly elevates the sentence structure and removes the clutter.
That deep dive into the grammar traps is invaluable for preventing those common missteps that can stubbornly persist and, mark a learner as non-native. Now, moving back to pronunciation, we discussed shadowing, but what about the risk of picking up bad habits if a self-learner focuses only on one niche source? This is really common if they only follow one YouTube teacher.
That is a very real and often humorous risk that the online learning community has strongly flagged. What's fascinating here is the risk of accidental accent or specialized register acquisition. Sometimes it's called language transfer.
Okay.
If you learn exclusively from a single niche video source or a specific non-diverse type of media, you may inadvertently pick up an accent or specialized vocabulary that is entirely inappropriate for general, professional, or academic use.
This is a huge concern for anyone who's a content creator themselves. We need to explain this risk clearly. Do we have an example of how extreme this specialized learning can get?
The source mentions a memorable anecdote about a student who learned Japanese. When his professor heard him speak, the professor was shocked. He told him that he spoke like a Yakuza member, the Japanese mafia, because his specific learning materials, which might have been a niche movie series or a specific tutor, had a very narrow, specialized dialect, register, and tone.
Wow.
The student was speaking perfectly well, grammatically, but with completely the wrong social coding.
That is the ultimate cautionary tale. So, for a listener who is potentially teaching thousands of people via their own channel, how can they diversify their input and, more importantly, ensure their own teaching materials don't inadvertently create one of these niche accent traps for their audience?
That's the strategic challenge for any content creator. First, for the individual learner, the solution is diversification. You must not rely on one voice or one type of media.
So listen to everything.
Listen to formal news broadcasts, casual vlogs, academic lectures, and various regional accents, Scottish, Australian, American, and so on. Second, for the content creator, the goal must be to model diverse input. If you only feature one speaker, you risk transmitting a single, specialized vocal model.
So a successful educational channel needs to feature a variety of voices, maybe even incorporating clips or segments from native speakers with different backgrounds.
Okay.
Much like the successful Learn English with Let's Talk channel does by featuring multiple teachers.
Exactly. The ultimate strategy for pronunciation improvement for any learner, though, is to show courage in communicating and to actively avoid perfectionism, which can just paralyze the speaker.
Yeah.
And to combat these accent risks and track progress objectively, the method insists on regularly recording yourself, perhaps every month, and listening back. Seeing and hearing the development you've made over time increases motivation and provides an objective way to course correct before bad habits solidify.
Fantastic advice. Okay, for many language learners, the sheer volume of vocabulary required to achieve C-level fluency, memorizing thousands of words, is the most daunting task.
It's the mount.
It is. It requires massive cognitive effort and repetitive drills. Our sources offer a unique and highly systematic method, the Hafıza Tekniği, memory technique, which uses sound-alike substitution and imaginative visualization to create highly efficient memory shortcuts.
This is a mnemonic masterclass. It's perfect for the learner who's seeking high-efficiency memory tools.
So how does it work fundamentally?
This technique leverages the psychological principle that the brain remembers information that is vivid, absurd, emotional, or spatially located, far better than information that is dry and abstract.
Okay.
The method essentially creates a memorable, often absurd bridge between a foreign word, its meaning, and a similar-sounding word or phrase in the learner's native tongue. It bypasses rote repetition entirely by engaging imagination and sound.
So instead of just pairing accomplish with its translation başarmak, we link the sound accomplish to a native language phrase that sounds similar.
Right.
And then connect that phrase to the meaning via a ridiculous, unforgettable image.
That's the engine of the technique. The sound substitution provides the hook, the native tongue provides the scaffolding, and the vivid image provides the stickiness for long-term recall.
Okay, let's walk through the detailed examples to truly illustrate how effective this cross-lingual mapping is.
Let's do it.
Let's start with the foundational verb, accomplish, meaning to succeed.
Okay, so accomplish, meaning to succeed or başarmak, The sound-alike substitution in the native language, which is Turkish in the source material, is ak komple iş.
Which
It
means...
literally translates to complete the job. The vivid image you must create is a scene. Imagine being told by a severe boss, you must do the whole job, ak komple iş, and only then will you truly succeed, başar. The image of completing the entire job links directly to the concept of success.
Got it. Okay, how about the word accost, meaning to approach or confront?
So accost, meaning to approach, or yanaşmak. The sound-alike is aş kostumu, which means aş costume. The image involves saying, perhaps to a friend, I will approach, yanaşakagam, aş kostumunu, to his side to see what the heck he's wearing. The image is specific, a little bit weird, and therefore memorable.
Give us one related to a job or trainee apprentice.
For apprentice, meaning trainee or shialak, the sound-alike is apprentici. The corresponding image is imagining a jockey saying, that guy, apprentici, is a poor-quality jockey. He's just a trainee jockey, shialak. You link the foreign sound to an immediate, personalized scenario involving the word's meaning.
What about abstract concepts, like a legal document, bequest, a will, or testament?
Bequest, meaning a will or vasiat. The sound-alike here is bequiveste, which means in a tub.
In a tub.
In a tub. The image is highly cinematic and absurd. Imagine a baby tragically born in a tub, bequiveste, who grows up, survives, and eventually becomes so wealthy they make a huge will, vasiat, for millions. The absurdity of the birth location links to the seriousness of the final document.
That's memorable. Let's try one that relates to human interaction. Entice, to seduce or tempt.
Entice, meaning to seduce or bastan çıkarmak. The sound-alike substitution is entis, which means the most sharply pitched sound.
Okay.
The imagined scene is saying, perhaps sarcastically, even the most high-pitched woman's voice, entis kadensesi, can successfully seduce, bastan çıkarırmi. It anchors the word's meaning to a memorable auditory association.
And finally, a character trait, arrogant, meaning haughty.
For arrogant, meaning haughty or kibirli, the sound-alike is aryu oke atan, which means bee shooting an arrow.
A bee shooting an arrow.
The visualization is imagining a bee that has somehow learned to shoot arrows, aryu oke atan, and as a result of its unique skill, becomes a haughty, kibirli, and stuck-up animal.
These specific visualization techniques are truly a mnemonic masterclass. They offer a highly personalized, efficient, and engaging way to acquire vocabulary rapidly.
They do.
For our listener who may be teaching, incorporating memory tools like this can drastically accelerate vocabulary retention compared to standard flashcard repetition.
It replaces tedious repetition with creative association. The key for a content creator is demonstrating this method clearly, showing the word, presenting the L1 sound substitution, and then narrating the absurd image. It transforms the dry task of memorization into a fun, imaginative exercise with immediate, strong, cross-lingual associations.
So what does this all mean for you, the learner, and potentially the content creator? We've covered everything from the necessity of active immersion, even if it's just talking to your cat and daily practice, to the structural critique of major language teaching methods like CLT. And we've explored how a few absurd, imaginative mnemonic associations can unlock hundreds, even thousands of vocabulary words efficiently.
The core takeaway for you, I think, is that language success is highly multifaceted. It depends on strategically balancing structural rigor with communicative courage.
It's not one or the other.
It's not. You need the guts to speak, even if it's awkward or full of errors, the discipline to actively address specific mechanics, like mastering those common grammar traps to prevent fossilization, and the ability to leverage highly personalized techniques, whether that's dedicated mnemonics or tapping into massive, diverse online channels like Learn English with Let's Talk on YouTube.
And whether you ultimately choose self-study for its flexibility and low cost, or guided courses for their structure and professional support, the power lies in active engagement.
Active engagement, consistent repetition.
And crucially embracing the inevitable mistakes as necessary, unavoidable steps toward true fluency. Don't let the fear of imperfection stop you from communicating or creating the content that helps others communicate.
Which raises a final provocative thought for you to explore, especially given the academic critiques we reviewed.
Okay.
We noted the significant non-standardization in instructor preferences and the high potential for subjective assessment in testing speaking skills.
Right, the lack of a clear standard.
Exactly. So given this variability, how much should advanced learners truly rely on external standardized certifications, like a high-level C1 certificate, versus developing their own robust internal objective metrics for evaluating true communicative success in complex professional situations?
That's a great question.
It's a question of whether external validation truly aligns with the internal functional competence that you need to succeed in the real world.